Do I need to do this? Like, really? I mean, yeah, okay. I said that I would. But I didn't expect this. Netflix has dropped turds before, don't get me wrong. But this? I wasn't ready for this. This pilot episode was honestly enjoyable. In the future timeline, we meet our protagonist, Jade, as a researcher living among the zombies. Sorry, zeros. To track how they evolve over time. She's been there for 6 months, seemingly out in the field every single day to watch how the zeros track the scent of blood and see how they behave as a group. A very careless mistake leaves Jade with a cut on her wrist, whipping the zeros into a frenzy and causing an intense chase back to her living quarters and its defense systems. After being attacked by a giant mutated caterpillar, we cut to the past. Teenage Jade and her sister Billy moved to the South African town New Raccoon City with their father, Albert. I'll be honest here, the teenage drama aspect of this series is one of the things I was most dreading. However, while Jade's snotty attitude can be a little much at times, as this first episode handles it, this past timeline is quite interesting. And yes, a lot of that has to do with Lance Reddick's portrayal of Albert. He comes off as a father who truly cares, but finds himself torn between his job responsibilities and his duties as a father. The best scene in this first episode belongs to him. After a situation with a girl who bullies Billy gets out of hand, Albert's encounter with the bully's father, another Umbrella Corporation employee like every parent in town, is ridiculously memorable. Reddick's Albert is quietly and effortlessly intimidating throughout. Not only does he point out that the other father's job could be done by just about anyone, but Albert also quite bluntly states that he personally holds enough sway to have the man blacklisted by every big tech company in the world. What results is a scene where this man essentially melts into a puddle of piss on the floor as he forces his daughter to apologize to Billy Wesker. Not only does Albert manage to strip this man of his dignity, but also causes the man's daughter to lose all respect for him, and it is an absolute delight to watch. A less talented actor could have made the same scene with the same lines come across a bit dull, but not Lance fucking Reddick though. There's also a section where teen Jade and Billy sneak into Umbrella HQ hoping to liberate the test animals. It's more than a little contrived, especially as Umbrella's entirely security system was foiled by an audio clip of Albert's voice played over an iPhone. But the ensuing chaos when a Cerberus hound was let loose and pursues the sisters was actually pretty exciting, and blew away Welcome to Raccoon City's use of the same monster. Then we go back to the future stuff, and honestly, it's lame. Adult Jade is rescued by scavengers, but also sold out to Umbrella due to a bounty on her head. A fat, evil, white Umbrella man arrives on scene. He and his cronies start killing people. Jade escapes. That bit wasn't exactly exciting, but not terrible. Although having fat, evil, white man whip out a candy bar was... All in all, I would be quite interested to see where the first season would go if it weren't shoved headfirst into the ass of the Resident Evil series like some horrifying attempt to make a zombie turducken. It started with an immediate reversal of the whole Billy was mauled to death cliffhanger from the previous episode, meaning she just sprang back to life after appearing to die, eyes wide open and all. Adult Jade also survives her cliffhanger, as plot armor completely prevents her body from shattering after a leap of faith. Aside from this, by the time I sat down to review this second episode, I couldn't remember what the fuck happened in it. There were some decent character moments here, especially for the Wesker family. The way they portrayed Billy's infection was a bit hokey in the way it was staged and shot. I don't know, it just came across a bit goofy to me, seeing her just shuffle around in a daze while seeing everything cast in red lights. Aside from that, this is the one time where the future timeline actually appealed to me. I really enjoy the scene in the tunnel, where a van full of refugees, including Jade, is surrounded by lickers. The ensuing chaos was a pretty great display of how terrifying and deadly the lickers can be. The chase involving the giant spider was also pretty intense, and the brutality on display, especially the moment where the spider splits a man in half, was actually a bit shocking. The drama involving a small child infected by the T-virus dragged on a bit too long for my liking, however. We all know how it was going to end as soon as the bite was revealed, but it's a minor nitpick. Shout out to the Wesker family's chihuahua Pablo, seemingly named after OG Wesker actor Pablo Kuntz. Adult Jade and Fat Evil White Man have been captured by a third faction, the Brotherhood. How original. And Fat Evil White Man takes a moment to rant about SpongeBob. Amazing, fantastic, stupendous writing. In the past, Albert is working hard with his team to develop an antiviral solution for the T-virus while the countdown to Billy's turn ticks away. I'd say Lance Reddick's acting wasn't very convincing in this one scene, but in his defense, there's no good way to portray a man in his 50s having a hissy fit. We get a scene of young Jade and Billy walking through New Raccoon City as Jade points out the flaws of their neighbors. Hey, she has ass implants. He has hair plugs. Look, fake boobs. Oh, she just got her vag wallpapered. Charming. And yes, someone did get paid to write that. We then see Jade and Billy crash a makeshift skate park party. That's a thing, I guess. And we also watch Evelyn Marcus and her wife do goat yoga. Just like the games! Oh, and then Fat Evil White Man becomes a badass and pulls some Raid/John Wick shit, and a knockoff Dr. Salvador shows up, and... hell with it. Look, I tried to give each episode its own fair shake, but enough is enough. This series, if you can even call it that, doesn't deserve it. Look, this thing is deeply flawed from top to bottom, inside and out. Episode 1 was almost entertaining, aside from some plot armor and other major contrivances, if it were its own thing. But it isn't. This series injected just enough from the video games to make it unapproachable to the general audience, but also uses those references from the video game so poorly that it's laughably meaningless. Sincerely, truly meaningless. This is an honest question for those of you who genuinely enjoy this sort of thing. No judgment. What makes it enjoyable for you? From my perspective, it feels lazy, as if the show's crew is just trying to placate us. I'm talking about things like some random piece of human cannon fodder holding the Hydra shotgun from RE5 and RE6. Okay, it's there. So... An utterly pointless background character dressed exactly like RE4's Dr. Salvador and happens to use the same weapon of choice. A character happens to use the Red 9 handgun from RE4 and uses it to kill the utterly pointless background character dressed like RE4's Dr. Salvador, who then dies in a manner similar to one of Dr. Salvador's in-game death animations. What exactly was the point of that? Why are we supposed to enjoy it? Because it objectively makes no sense. Showrunner Andrew Dabb has said repeatedly that the games are canon to this Netflix series. They happened. What this means is Dr. Salvador was one of many enemies who Leon S. Kennedy fought during a rescue mission in 2004. And then, in the year 2036, some rando happened to dress up like him while also using a chainsaw, and coincidentally got put down by the same model of handgun that Leon had access to in RE4. Da fook? And let's not forget Lisa Trevor, arguably Resident Evil Remake's most iconic enemy. She pops up for an extremely brief appearance on a VHS tape, an almost blink-and-you-miss-it cameo. Why bother? Why use Lisa if you're not going to delve into her absolutely tragic backstory? Lisa Trevor was a young girl who had terrible things done to her, being turned into a science experiment and being left to live a tortured and monstrous existence. Having Wesker's daughters learn about Lisa should have been a heart-wrenching, impactful moment. Billy and Jade have just discovered their father's secret lab. They've learned that he has collected a large supply of their blood for unknown purposes, and then they find this VHS tape revealing Lisa Trevor for a few seconds. But imagine if they don't just find that tape. Imagine if they also find Lisa Trevor's file in that box of records from Raccoon City. Imagine these two young girls learning about someone just like them, who was forced to become a deadly creature by the same company their father works for. Imagine how much Billy, currently infected with the T-virus, might suddenly find herself identifying with this story, with this poor girl who had her humanity stripped from her. And imagine the utter emotional devastation both girls should feel having video evidence seemingly proving their father was in on this. Instead of doing that, it's a meaningless cameo, thoroughly outclassed by Welcome to Raccoon City's more tragically heroic version of the same creature. But you know what? Let's ignore all of that. Because the true tragedy of this series is that the actors all have this stain on their resume. Tamara Smart and Sienna Agudong handle the sisterly drama so damn well that I actually bought into their relationship as siblings, and felt that Jade and Billy Wesker loved each other. Tamara was saddled with the worst material, portraying a character who starts out with that very generic too cool for school mentality, but nonetheless shines in the role. Sienna, meanwhile, was stuck playing a character who becomes infected with the T-virus and subsequently bumbles around in a dreamlike haze or just whining about how her sister doesn't love her enough. Still, you can almost feel the emotional toll it's taking on Billy, and that's because of the actress's talents. As adult Jade, Ella Balinska seems to handle her role as well as anyone possibly could, but this character just happens to be unlikable, utterly idiotic, and so thoroughly covered in plot armor that there are zero stakes in this series. The quote-unquote humorous moments fell completely flat, but that's not Ella's fault. It's all in the writing and possibly the direction. And now for Lance Reddick. No, this man does not suit Albert Wesker in any way, shape, or form. But hot damn is he a joy to watch on screen, and he was given quite a lot to do. This character has so many layers. He's a well-meaning but sorely imperfect father, a deteriorating man with sinister secrets, a ruthless professional, a desperate scientist trying to save his daughter before the clock ticks down, and he pulls it off near flawlessly. All of it. To be perfectly honest, this dude deserves an award for what he did here. Not just for showcasing immense talents, but also for being forced to don a goofy leather combat suit and a terrible wig unfitting of a 59-year-old man. He shouldn't have been Albert Wesker. This character should never have been Albert Wesker. Lance Reddick should never have been forced to dress like a carbon fiber clown. He deserves a starring role in a show of much higher quality than this, and I sincerely hope this horribly executed Netflix bullshit doesn't hurt his career. I truly cannot go into more detail than this. This series doesn't deserve a comprehensive plot breakdown. It's broken. It can't stand alone, but neither does it slot into the video game franchise, no matter how much Andrew Dabb claims otherwise. Just don't bother. If you have to, seek out the liquor and spider scenes. I'm sure they'll be on YouTube at some point. Nothing else is redeemable here. I'm baffled, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.